Hey guys, how you doing? This is Andrew Sims with the Sims Consulting Group, and on this Wisdom Wednesday, which is actually Thursday because it's now after midnight, still up getting a couple of things done, but I wanted to make sure that we had this opportunity to kind of discuss something that I consider to be very important when it comes to evaluating your day, evaluating your process personally, not necessarily your business processes, but you as a leader, you as a consultant, you as a anybody that's striving to, project manager, you're striving to achieve something, right? Anybody that's on a mission to, fulfill their purpose or do what it is that they believe they're supposed to do during their time on this planet. And there's a stark difference, right? For instance, I'm working now and it's after midnight because I did a lot of busy work today, but I wasn't very productive with the things I needed to get accomplished, man. So that's going to force me now to have to, get some things done after midnight. And that's kind of the topic, man. Being busy versus being productive. Um, and what happens is, man, we think that it's a formula that doesn't change. A lot of people that I talk to about being busy versus being productive think it's like this set hard rule. And that's not really practical when you talk about, everything that you're going to go through in the course of a day when it comes to, your family, your organization, your business, your company, your role at an organization, your obligations outside of your family that are not necessarily business related. But if you serve at a church or you're a football coach, right? This calculation of what it looks like to be busy versus being productive needs to be adjusted, depending on how often or how your day fluctuates or how your schedule fluctuates. You have to give yourself time, right, to evaluate what it is you're doing. And then to really evaluate to see whether you're actually moving the needle or you're maintaining the status quo. And that's the difference, man. A lot of times, most of the things that we do really maintain the status quo. And that could be a form of productivity, right? Because there are systems and things that need to be maintained, that need to be monitored, that need to be looked after, right? There are parts of the organization that you need to maintain. But being productive in the sense I'm talking about now really deals with moving the needle. How do we move How do we progress? How do we go forward? How do we remain relevant? How do we push the envelope? How do we, forge ahead, if you will? And that looks different. Like I said, for me as a business consultant, that depends on the company, that depends on the project. It depends on a lot of different things. What being busy is versus being productive. And I don't want to make it too complicated, but I want to give you this simple little calculation, if you will. When you're are you going throughout your day, right, kind of mindlessly? And what I mean by that is everything so routine in your day that you're not using your critical thinking skills. You're not really activating your mind. You're not really drilling down into different policies and procedures and processes, right? Or are you just kind of floating through the day? Well, in a lot of cases, you're just floating through the day. Like I said, there is a part of productivity that requires you to maintain certain things, systems, etc. Right? You have to be conscious, right? To not simply become a robot when it comes to your job, your responsibilities to an organization, to your family, right? You can't go through this thing like a robot. You have to constantly be alert and looking at ways to do what you do better, faster, more efficient. And those are the things that I'm talking about when it comes to being productive and moving the needle, because you have to stay in tune with where business is. You have to stay in tune with what the market is saying. You have to stay in tune with what technology is doing, right? And if you're mindlessly thinking, man, you can do that for a year, and before you know it, what you do is so far archaic or so far out of reach, man, that you put yourself on a short leash when it comes to remaining relevant in that current marketplace, in that current job. in that current organization, right? You have to be moving the needle forward if you want to truly be productive, not just completing busy work. Because busy work, somebody's going to figure out a way to be more effective at your job, right? When it comes to organizations are in the business of cutting costs and raising profits. So you want to make sure that you're in the raising profits portion and not in the cutting cost portion. And the way you do that is to remain relevant with what's going on in the organization, not simply doing the mindless, busy work that they have going on, right? Like I said, that's a part of it. I'm not downing that because somebody needs to maintain things, right? There are maintenance to systems, and that requires some form of busy work. But you have to remain in your critical thinking mode to make sure that even when you're doing busy work, you're looking at more effective, proficient, and better ways to do what you're currently doing. Um, Now, I have this scripture that I want to look at, and it's Ephesians chapter 5, verses 15 through 17, and it says, "Look carefully then how you walk, not as unwise, but as wise, making the best use of the time because the days are evil," right? Therefore, do not be foolish, but understand what the will of the Lord is. I want to focus really on the first part of that verse. And it says, "Look carefully then how you walk, not as unwise, but as wise, making the best use of the time." Are you making the best use of your time daily? And I know that's going to be something, I have this thing in my head, right? That the best employees are not productive 100% of the time. There's nobody that's a productive 100% of the time on their job, right? Somebody, you take a couple of minutes to look at the sports scores. You take a couple of minutes to chat with your workers, right? You take a couple of minutes to, shoot the breeze in the lunchroom or whatever, right? That's not the goal. The goal is to do your job effectively, right? And get better at it and more efficient at it, more proficient at it, and things like that. So it always makes me laugh. People say, "Man, you should work every minute of the day." That's not gonna happen, for a long extended period of time. You may really give it your all, but there are going to be times where you need mental breaks, and those things play an important role in team cohesion. Shooting the breeze at the water cooler, that plays an important role, like I said, in team cohesion, team storming, norming, and all of that other stuff, right? We don't need to get into all that, but you must be very careful and make the best use of your time. That must be something that you consistently, routinely do, or else you are not going to be in the productive column. You're going to look busy. You're going to look like you're constantly doing something. But when people actually drill down into what you're doing on a daily basis, they're going to see that you're not really moving the needle if you're not truly making the best use of your time. Easier said than done, right? Because, like I said, we live in a world. I didn't say that, but we live in a world where there are so many distractions, right? I got my phone, got the internet, man. You got the world at your fingertips. You got people in your office, you got people in your home if you're working from home. So it's not always easy to make the best quote unquote use of your time. But the best use of your time, take that, don't take that best out of context. The best use of your time may be to relax. The best use of your time may be to refuel, to shoot the breeze, to put your kid on your knee, man, and laugh a little bit because you're working on a project that's racking your brain. The best use of your time is a relative term, and that depends on the situation and the circumstance that you're dealing with. Just make sure you're making the most out of your time. You're giving your employee your due, right? Because you're honorable, right? You have integrity, and you want to make sure you do the best job because you represent. If you're a believer like me, you represent the kingdom, and if you're not a believer, it's because you basically said this is what you're going to do, right? So you want to operate in integrity. Um, and two, you want to do, make the best use of your time when it comes to your family. You don't want to be thinking about work when you're with your family, and you don't want to be thinking about, family when you're with your work, right? They're separate. They're two separate parts in your life. And yes, they do overlap. Let's not, I'm not being silly here to think that there are not sometimes where, people are going to come into work with things that are outside of, that are not really dealing with work, family issues and stuff like that, especially now when we deal with what we're dealing with in the world with COVID and things like that. So I'm not being silly, but what I'm saying is Make the best of those silos, right? Those individual components of your life by being present when you're at whichever one you're at. If you're at church, man, and you're in the house of God and you're listening to the word, be there. Don't be at lunch. Don't be at work. Don't be in Monday and it's Sunday. Don't be in Thursday and it's Wednesday night service. Be there. Get everything that you're supposed to get in the situation, family, church, right? Work, you're on a football field, whatever it is, right? Get the best of that, pull the best out of it so it can draw the best out of you, right? And you can actually, learn something, develop, grow, whatever it is that you're supposed to do in those situations. But that calculation of busy versus productive is something that you're going to have to remain in an adjustment type of posture. Like I gotta move this here, I gotta adjust that there, right? Because like me and and what I do, it's constantly shifting. It's constantly shifting. But I want you to be encouraged because when you do make the most of your time, when you do properly allocate your resource, your most important resource, which is your time, and you are present in those moments, you'll get things done. Rewards will come. If it's a family situation, your wife, your kids, they'll know that you're present. They'll spend time. You'll have these memories that you can cherish. If you're at church, the Holy Spirit, God can speak to you, man, and develop you and grow you up, man, and give you the motivation, the inspiration, and things that you need to make it through the week. If you're at work, you could do a great job, you could get a great raise, you could get a big bonus, right? You can go on the company, Hall of Fame, whatever it is, right, for completing a project in record time, or coming up with a super solution to a very complex problem that the company is facing simply by being present, because most people are not. So, in closing, man, make sure that you're focusing and you're calculating and you're adjusting being busy versus being productive, right? Make sure you're keeping those things in perspective and you're adjusting yourself to get your highest and best use. Once again, man, this is Andrew Sims on this Wednesday/Thursday because it's after midnight. But you guys be blessed, man. Peace.